You slept a little. Ahmed is gone for the medicine.
Too late.
No, he shall be back before nightfall. We will, when you are back. Look how far we have come already. Try to rest.
The recorder. Take it. Take it.
I have it, but you will be well.
We both know. Razia. Take it. Please.
If I can. If they send me.
Not if, Razia. When?
Insight. Stories of modern man's search for meaning, freedom, love, insight.
Okay, one more now. Now, give me a big smile. Big one, Helen. Big smile. Yeah.
Bobby and Daddy?
Yeah, great. Now, just one more to show that brother of yours what he's missing. There we are. All right, enough of the pictures. Whew. Little champagne. And a toast. Let's see, let's drink to everybody. To our beautiful Tina, to Dick, who's more than a son-in-law, and to my own dear Helen, and your brother, Tom. All I can say is God help him. Cheers, health, and prosperity. What is it, Tina?
Well, I just wish we could wait until Tom calls.
With the circuits the way they are in Nigeria?
Oh, your mother's right. They don't have phones like here, honey. They beat it out on drums, and that's special delivery. Listen, why don't we try to catch the last of the Rams game, huh?
Take the cake in here.
Yeah. I got it.
Okay.
Very well, there's a good selection available. Kind of wine that...
Friends, the choice is up to you.
Just one spray and...
Frosty.
Oh, damn. Missed it. Well, oh, by the way, have you two decided to pick up that option on the new house?
Well, Dad, we think it might be a bit more than we can handle just now.
Oh? Well, I'll tell you, it's been my experience that prices go up and up and up, and then for a change, they go up.
No. That's true, Dad, but...
Now, listen. You have an option on a lovely house at a good price in a class neighborhood. I think it's time you two started moving up.
But, Dad, our idea is to move down, not up.
Or maybe it'd be more accurate to say we just want to cut back.
Oh, you're not making any sense. Look, Dick, you're a young man. Maybe you don't realize this, but the strength and wealth of this country is based on expanding production and on couples like you and Tina. Now, it's the first rule of economics. Stop growing, you start dying.
Yes, so maybe there's another way to look at it. We just want to simplify our life and not complicate it.
Give me a for instance.
Well, maybe the energy that we've all been spending on unproductive growth. Engines designed specifically for prestige and power rather than the efficient use of gas. Clothes and shoes designed to go out of fashion in one season. This built-in obsolescence. Now, if we were to cut that out, then there would be time and energy for a different kind of growth and a more important growth.
Well, I just hate for you to lose out on that house.
Daddy.
Thank you. Yeah.
We've looked at a house on Ashley Street.
Ashley Street? Oh, well. It's a nice enough neighborhood, but...
Yeah, and it makes sense. I can walk to my lectures at the university, and that'll eliminate another car.
Have you two... Listen, that's all right for you, but what about Tina?
Oh, come on, Daddy. It's not a tar paper shack. There are fruit trees there, and I could bring back the old garden.
Did you ever think of what it would be like if this country and everybody in it went on a ridiculous austerity trip? I mean, you're pulling the plug. That's what you're doing. Besides, and this may sound like a hell of an old-fashioned thing to say, but what about my grandchildren? Won't they get the same advantages I gave Tina? I mean, she was brought up to expect and appreciate certain things in life. Fine college, trips to Europe. Well, it's your decision. I shouldn't pressure you one way or the other. But do me a favor, will you? Look before you leap.
Okay, Dad.
Yeah, it's just that together, we're more interested in who we are rather than what we have. And that's what we want for your grandchildren.
Gotcha. But if you need some help with the down payment, I mean, it can always be an early Christmas present, right?
I'll get it.
Evening, ma'am. Mr. and Mrs. Michael Madden?
Yes.
Did you sign for this?
It must be from Tom.
Thank you.
Good night, ma'am.
What is it, Helen?
Mother? God.
Miss Madden, we have the ham and spinach souffle for tomorrow. Would you like custard or cherry pie for dessert?
Mike. What? We're having ham and souffle for dinner tomorrow. Do you want custard or cherry pie for dessert?
Well, I think I'll have a little of both, Nora.
Certainly.
Would you like a drink?
Yes. I was just reading that editorial that Tom wrote for his high school newspaper. The one where he thought that they ought to televise student council meetings, remember?
Oh, yeah. I remember that. He had a good head on his shoulders. That's why I don't understand any of it.
Here's that poem. Who do we thank for a tree?
You blame me for his death, don't you, Helen?
No, I can't blame you for that, Mike.
What then?
Nothing.
Now, look, Helen, I know you very well. Now, what is it?
I don't know.
Helen, please.
You were so cold to him. You didn't even go to the airport to see him off.
I had a meeting.
A meeting?
Now, you listen. We were both against his joining the Peace Corps.
Hello, Mike.
Joe.
I hope I'm not intruding.
No, of course not. Nice of you to come. Come on in. How about a drink?
No, thanks.
Well, then let's sit down.
I didn't get a chance to talk at the memorial service, and I just wanted to drop by and extend my sympathies to you and Helen. That goes for the entire rank and file of the union.
Oh, thank you, Joe. Helen will appreciate that.
It's a damn shame, Mike. It's a damn waste.
Well, you and I have been locking horns over bargaining tables for what, a quarter of a century? But on that, we're in complete accord. Waste is the right word for it.
You can't help those people. You can't teach them anything. I know. I've known it since Korea. All they've got is trouble, and all they breed is more trouble.
Well, what Tom was trying to do was impossible. I tried to make him see that.
We've got enough problems of our own without taking on the rest of the world. But oh no. Every time there's a plague or a famine or a flood, these underdeveloped nations come crying to us for a handout. Boy, they've developed that pretty good, haven't they?
Well, this time they took more than a handout.
Yeah, I know, Mike. You know, a lot of it is the college's fault. Urban affairs departments, world politics classes run by bleeding hearts, teaching kids to give away things they never even had to work for.
Oh, sure. It's easy to be generous with other people's money.
Yeah, but it makes everybody soft. The guy who gives it and the guy who sits there with his hand out.
Excuse me. Yeah?
Excuse me, my name is Talbot, Don Talbot. You are Mr. Madden?
That's right.
Well, sir, I'm on a campaign walk for Senator Alex Callahan, and I've talked to a few of your neighbors, and I was hoping you might have a few spare minutes.
Oh, you just waste them, son. You'll find no converts for Callahan here.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, but perhaps if I explain a few of the
Good night,
senator's
son.
policies...
Wait a minute. Don, did you say?
Yes, sir?
Come on in here.
Thank you.
In there. Maybe I can just pound a little sense into your head.
Now, I'll discuss any or all of the senator's policies if you like. His positions on inflation, energy problems, foreign aid, marijuana, abortion.
Well, I know the Senator's thinking on foreign aid. Why don't you try to defend that to us?
All right. Well, let me ask you gentlemen a question. Is food a human right? Or is it a privilege, like a yacht, available only to someone who can afford to buy it?
Well, I think food ought to be available to everybody who's willing to work for it.
That's fair enough. But since you used the word ought, I assume you're questioning the morality of the problem. And if I read you correctly, Mr. Madden, what you're saying is that the aged, the infants, the helpless who can't work, and they don't have any right to food?
Now, let me ask you something. Why don't these pathetic groups of yours do something about their soaring birth rates? That's why they're starving. There's just too damn many of them.
And why should America be public benefactor number one?
Those are good points. First, Mr. Garrow, in a land that's threatened by famine, a large family is the only social security that the people have. A father knows two things. One, that half his family may die of starvation. Or two, they'll be so mentally slowed down by malnutrition that they'll never become fully functional human beings. No, thank you.
Joe?
Yeah, thank you.
Yet to live, to work, to farm, he needs the help of a family. And in his old age, nobody but his children are going to take care of him. So it's the only Social Security that he's got.
Hell, we can't afford our own Social Security.
A full stomach and the peace of mind it brings is the world's best answer to overpopulation. Yet the cruel paradox is that famine perpetuates overpopulation. Let's look at our own history. In this country, when we needed men and women to cultivate our own huge farmlands, families of 8, 10, 12 were not uncommon. They were desirable. And nobody questioned whether those children were loved or wanted. We'd have been up on our hind legs fighting if anybody had said to us, well, why don't you have civilized numbers of children?
All right, but we support our people.
And we do it by taking from countries of the entire earth. We take their raw materials, their petroleum, their zinc.
No. We don't take anything. We buy it, and at their inflated prices.
That's true, but they're only doing what we always have, using the laws of supply and demand. And remember, most of these countries have only one product to sell, and they're totally dependent on the price they sell it for. They're merely trying to take control of their own destiny. Is that so unreasonable?
Well, what the hell do you want us to do? Just open up the door and say, come on in, help yourself to anything you want?
No, but why shouldn't we share our geographical, God-given abundances with them? Our grains, our protein.
Do you honestly believe that we can feed the whole world?
No, but we have the variety of climates and soils in this country to create harvests so huge that a fraction of them would save the lives of millions of human beings who will die for the very lack of them this year.
Now, just a minute, son. You let just one of those countries who come to us for help, now you let them discover uranium or oil or rubber or coffee or whatever, and they'll corner the world market on us, squeeze every last penny out of us.
Do you really think that they're the only ones who are doing that? Did you know that 90% of the world's grain exports are controlled by 5 U.S. corporations?
Look, I know these countries are in trouble. My point is they won't do anything to help themselves. They come to us. In India, for God's sake, they've got cows walking around loose, and they won't eat them because they're holy.
Mr. Garrow, don't we have our own sacred cows? the steak engine. The American beef steer is the most inefficient producer of protein imaginable. It takes 9 units of protein in the form of grain to produce 1 unit of protein in the form of beef.
You want us to give up steaks?
No, but you always save when you cut out the middleman. Eating grain instead would provide 10 times as much protein. And there are 500 million human beings in desperate need of it. You see, that's just one of Senator Callahan's proposals.
Then you go tell Senator Callahan to eat grain.
Look, in 1947, when Europe was starving, President Truman proposed 4 specific contributions to the American people. No meat on Monday, no poultry on Thursday, eat 1 less slice of bread per day, and no bread, rolls, or butter to be served in a restaurant unless specifically ordered. The American people cooperated. In 60 days, the first food arrived in Europe to help keep them alive.
Well, maybe in those days you could sell altruism and self-sacrifice.
And in Europe, too, kid. Those are our kind of people.
You mentioned altruism. The senator's program is not totally altruistic. It's also very practical. If we cut back just a little in food, in electricity, and gasoline, we gain the world. The people we feed will become strong. They'll develop functional systems of their own to continue that job, and they become viable nations.
They become freeloaders.
Oh, no, Mr. Garrow. They become very good customers of American-made products. You can also tell that to your labor union. They stay a part of this world. They have a stake in world peace, which hopefully will let us reduce our insane defense budgets.
Insane? I don't call being prepared insane.
Well, I don't know what else to call it when you consider that between the United States and the Soviet Union, there are the equivalent of 10 tons of TNT for every man, woman, and child on the face of this earth today. And the defense spending by the great nations in this world equals the total national income of Africa, Asia, and all of Latin America.
Well, what do you and Callahan want us to do? Drop out of the arms race? Become a second-rate power?
Let me quote Dwight Eisenhower. He said, every gun that's fired, every warship launched, every rocket fired is, in a sense, a theft from those who hunger and are not fed, who are naked and are not clothed. Well, Mr. Madden, you said I probably wouldn't make any converts for the senator here. Thanks for being honest, Mr. Garrett.
Son?
Thanks for listening.
Well, that was a good try.
Sir, there's one thing you could do for the cause.
Oh, and what's that?
Well, that television set. While we've been talking, it's consumed enough energy to grill you a nice big 2-inch steak. Thanks again.
Helen. Miss Armoni, am I saying that right? Armoni?
Yes, Mr. Madden, but please call me Razia.
Razia, I would like you to meet my wife, Tom's mother. Razia was with Tom in Nigeria. They were friends.
Oh, won't you sit down?
Thank you.
Could we get you some tea?
Oh, you are kind. I would be so refreshed.
No.
I was with your son when he died.
We know so very little. We only got the telegram. No personal effects, nothing.
He had very little, Mrs. Madden.
Was he in pain when he died?
With Tom, it was difficult to know. He never complained. But I think his end was easy. A great weariness and... The night he died, he asked me to give you a message. I said, if I can go to the United States, and because your son was what he was, he said, not if, Razia, but when. He asked me to tell you that he was wrong.
Wrong. Well, we knew that. He was being impractical. He couldn't make a dent in the problem by himself, but I'm sorry he died with the feeling of failure.
But he did not fail. That is not what he meant. This was your son's project. Our project.
He wrote he was working on a farm.
He was too modest. Tom got the grant of land from the government to experiment with. He could be very persuasive, as I am sure you know.
How much land did he talk your government into parting with?
1 acre.
1 acre?
It was pasture land outside our village.
Razia, what could he hope to accomplish with 1 acre?
He made a start, Mr. Madden. When Tom came from the capital, our village farmers still use sticks and their hands to break the surface of the earth, to plow it. Is that the word?
You were from that village?
Yes. I had finished at the university and was sent back to teach when Tom began his work.
But what could he do with 1 acre?
First, he tracked down a junk pile of broken and abandoned war things.
War things?
Rusted tanks, parts of jeeps, machine gun mounts, things like that. Then he borrowed welding equipment from the capital and taught the men of the village how to make tools. But here I have some photographs. He worked with us on the farm, in the heat, in the cold, when the flies were at their worst, when the wind blew sands like the stings of bees against your face. And the men listened to him because he was one of them, because he taught them things they did not know about their land, about seeds and gravity irrigation. He lived as we lived, knew the heats, the colds, the hungers. There are men in my country who would kill for even one of those pieces of bread. Forgive me, Mrs. Madden. It is just that I am not accustomed to the abundance of food in your country.
You'll have tea, though.
Yes.
Well, what did he accomplish?
It was a miracle. In my religion, God says, who gives himself with his arms feeds 3. Himself, his hungry neighbor, and me. You see, in one of our poorest villages, we increased production by almost 50% in our first planting and harvesting. We fed the village. It was not sufficient, but still more than even our oldest people could remember having.
Still 50%. That's very impressive.
But the true miracle was the villagers themselves. We inspired them. They saw it could be done, and they began to do it. It so impressed the government that they provided the funds to send me to your country to study agriculture.
What did Tom mean when he said he was wrong?
Perhaps he himself can explain. This belonged to your son. His words there are for you. I believe they are private.
No, please, Razia, stay.
If you hear these words, Dad and Mother, I hope you will hear them with Razia Amuni, who was my friend and is a very good lady. But I was wrong in my attitude here. I thought it was all one way. I was giving them something. They were poor and we were rich. I found they had so much spiritual richness that I was the pauper. I received more than I gave. And I also learned that this isn't the kind of problem that anyone can solve by himself. Oh, sure, there's some corruption and greed in the governments who need our help most. They're not perfect, and neither are we. But to point to those human frailties as justification for doing nothing is a cheap, insensitive cop-out. The problem is that people are starving by the millions, dying of hunger. Now. Bread is every man's right, just as is the air he breathes. Dad, Mother, you were always so generous to me and Tina. Please don't think that I've forgotten that. I believe I have 1,000,000 brothers in the world, as I believe Tina has millions of sisters. We are all your children.
I will leave those with you, Mrs. Madden. I think Tom would want that. One of our imams has taught, to die in love is to live with God and in the hearts of those we leave behind. I believe that, Mrs. Madden.
Thank you. I'll try to believe it too. To die in love is to live in the hearts of those we leave behind.
Hello. This is Mike Madden. I would like for you to put me through to Senator Callahan.